All right, I will give it just a moment. Welcome, welcome. Okay. All right, I will give it just a moment. All right, where am I at here? Okay, welcome. Hi, my name is Valorie Lewis. This is a Tarot Unicorns and Coffee event. Today's event is called The Gift of Chaos, Navigating Life's Turbulence. And for those of you that are in my membership, every month at the end of each month, we do what I call a deep dive on the topic for the month. So if you're in the membership, you know we've been talking about chaos and change all month long. Even if you're not in the membership, the world has been talking about chaos and change all month long, with the astrological events going on and just with the vibe and the frequency and the feel and the feedback that we're getting from the collective. There's a lot afoot. Um, I was about to say a miss, but not a miss, afoot. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of energies going on. So the purpose of today's energy is today's event. The purpose of today's event is to take a closer look at chaos, take a closer look at, are there gifts that chaos might be presenting me with? How do I find those gifts and how can I use those gifts to navigate my life? As you know, here in Tarot Unicorns and Coffee, we're all about co-creating with the universe, creating our life as opposed to reacting to or trying to navigate something that we don't feel control on. Being a co-creator means that we are taking an active part in creating our reality and creating life the way we want it to be. So today, the gift of chaos. Let's see, we're going to spend some time together talking about the astrological energies, like what actually was going on, what energies maybe we were aware of, maybe we weren't aware of, maybe as I talk about them, you're like, oh, that's why such and such happened. So we'll talk a little bit about what's going on astrologically. We'll talk about the chaos within is what I called it, like there's stuff going on out there, but what is that activating within us? What's going on within us, and how can we better navigate those energies, or at least find like a roadmap of sorts to it, a way to sort through it in a way that feels good, that feels in alignment for us. And then we'll have question and answer is what it says on the event description. We will have a question and answer, but prior to the question and answer, I decided just today, as I was going through what I wanted to present to the group and some things that were coming up for me, I thought, it makes sense that I ask our interstellarly created, connected friends what they think, since a lot of what's going on for us down here on Earth is cosmically triggered, is because of a cosmic trigger, is because of astrological events. I thought it would be cool if we asked my Syrian friends what their viewpoint on it was. So added into today's event, we will also have some channeling from the Syrian friends, Syrian council, that's what I call them, see what their viewpoint is on what's going on, see if we can get some additional higher vantage point, different vantage point answers to what's going on. That will also be available during the question and answer. So if you have things that you might be thinking of that you've wanted to ask our interstellar friends or wanted to ask higher perspective, this would be a great event to do that in. So as the description said, this is going to be anywhere from 90 minutes to anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on participation and the questions that are asked. But other than that, today is going to be a little bit more free flowing than what you might be used to as far as today's event. I really want to allow for feedback and allow for you to get your questions answered, allow for you to tap in and maybe get guidance from above or from other members in the group so that we can all kind of come together and collectively figure out what's going on with all of this chaos. So let's get started with some participation over in chat, please, if you feel so inclined. What is your idea of chaos? What are you thinking chaos means for you? You can put keywords, you can put a full-on description, you can put synonyms. What does chaos mean to you? What's the vibe? You can put feelings. How are you feeling about this chaos energy? Let's see. Feeling unbalanced. For sure, for sure. Yeah, the pressure to communicate clearly. You're feeling that pressure easing up. Yep, I got that. Stressed. Chaos means stress. Okay. Yep. Not oriented to time, place, and dimension. Ooh, I like that. Like feeling untethered, not like you're, I like that a lot. Awesome. So, a lot of great things going on over in the chat as far as how we view chaos. I am not going to try to shift your view or change your view. My purpose in today is trying to add on to that, trying to expand what you already think about chaos and give you perhaps a different way of thinking about it. Not necessarily shifting though, because I think those are all great responses, but adding to it, expanding our view of chaos. So first I want to start by talking about what is going on astrologically. And for that, I'm going to pull up my notes because there's a lot going on and I don't want to miss any points. So I'm going to go all the way back to March 19th. So a lot of us thought that all of this started early April, early this month. Mm, mm, mm. March 19th. Let's go back to March 19th. March 19th is when what I call retro shade began for Mercury retrograde. Mercury retro shade is the period before and after an astrological retro shade. Let me be more specific. Retro shade in general is a period before and after a retrograde where you are still feeling the effects of the astrological event. So in this case, we're talking about Mercury retro shade, which is the period before the actual retrograde where you begin to feel the effects of the Mercury retrograde. I refer to it as a dimmer switch. So it starts to build slowly. Then we hit the actual Mercury retrograde where we feel all of those energies full on. Then Mercury retrograde officially ends according to our calendar and it tapers off. So those building up to and tapering off is what I call the retro shade period. Shade. March 19th is when the Mercury retro shade began. This is astrologically charted, like you can see it on a chart. I'm trying to think if I have paper, if I can accurately represent it so y'all can get an idea, because this might actually help you visually understand the retro shade period. Hold on, y'all. I'm going for notes. Let's see. Okay, so in the sky, pardon the crude thing, in the sky, let's just assume that this is the ellipsis that Mercury travels, right? Big ellipsis, big circle. So when we think about the retrograde, there's an illusion that it goes backwards, that it's going in our sky, and then at some point it decides to go backwards. Illusion, optical illusion. And then at some point it decides to go forward again, and we're back on track. So this period, this is when we hit the retro shade. We're still going forward. This is when we hit the retrograde and it appears that we're going backward. This is when the retrograde is over and we start going forward again. And when we meet where we turn backwards the first time. So these two periods right here, where we're actually going in the right direction, are the shade periods, because it's overshadowing that period where we actually appear to go backwards before we start going the right direction. So I hope that makes sense. Very crude adaptation, but that is the shade period. So March 19th began the retro shade period. Then we had on March 29th, we had the full moon in Libra, which is also a lunar eclipse, so our first eclipse. And then on April 1st, we had Mercury retrograde officially begin, and that Mercury retrograde took place in Aries. And then 7 days later, on the 8th, we had new moon in Aries, which was our solar eclipse, total solar eclipse for some of us in the track of totality. So that was a big event, not like a regular solar eclipse, but a total solar eclipse. And then on April 25th, which is what today, hello, is Mercury retrograde ends. And then we have from today on until May 13th, where we have that retro shade period that I hopefully just crudely illustrated for you. So from March 19th to May 13th, we've been in and will continue to be in until May 13th, this period of feeling chaos, feeling things unsettled, feeling things come up for us. So first I want to talk about Mercury retrograde and what that pulls up for us. Mercury, our planet, optical illusion, it appears to move backwards in the sky. We see this illusion if you've ever been in a car riding alongside a train, and at some point you look over at that train and it looks like that train is going backwards, and you know that train's not going backwards, but it's an illusion because of the speed of your car and the speed of the train. At some point it looks like it's going backwards. Same thing happens up in the sky. Mercury's not actually going backwards, but it appears that way because it's closer to Earth, and because of our orbit and their orbit, when our speeds match that same thing that happens with the train, we look up and it looks like it's going backwards. It's not actually going backwards. But because of the energies and because of ancient myths and stories that we told about why these planets look like they're going backwards before we had telescopes and we knew why they looked like they were going backwards, there's a lot of spiritual, I was going to say spiritual myths, but they're not myths, spiritual correlations to what we are seeing in our skies and how we are relating that to what's going on energetically for ourselves. Very true stories, because whatever stories we make up, we are able to experience. And if we have most of Earth collectively making up a story, then guess what? Whether we believe it or not, we're going to collectively feel some of that energy that the other billions of humans around us are creating. So with that being said, when Mercury, the planet Mercury, named after the god Mercury, and Mercury, the god, was known for, let me read it because I don't want to miss any of his attributes. We know it for communication, but it's also known for, hold on, I got it, communication. The god Mercury rules over communication, including all of our technology and systems of information exchange. Also rules the part of us that absorbs the information in an instant and then transforms that information to others. So it's a taking in of information and a dispersing of information that Mercury rules over. And also known as the messenger of the god. So we think about how those messages are conveyed. Because Mercury, the god, was messenger to the gods, this is a Roman god, used to deliver messages between gods and also used to deliver messages between gods and mortal. That's a lot of power. What if he wanted to change that message just a little bit before he actually delivered it? That could cause a lot of what? Chaos. So Mercury was also known as a trickster because he did like to do that. He did like to spice things up a bit and change the messages before he actually delivered them. So known as a communicator, known as a messenger to the gods, also known as the god that helps with commerce and business ventures. That's why people say don't sign contracts during Mercury retrograde. That's not true. We'll talk about that. But known for all of these things as a god. And of course, once we saw that planet and we named that planet after it, we also attributed those energies to that planet. So when Mercury goes in retrograde, what it gives us is a chance to slow down, to reflect, and to reflect on what? To reflect on all of the things that Mercury rules over, all of the energies that Mercury represents, the archetypes that Mercury represents. So it gives us a chance to slow down and to reflect and revise, and in some places even renew those areas in our life, dealing with communication, dealing with business and commerce, and those areas in our life dealing with messages, if we're sending messages or receiving messages. And of course, this also includes our technology, because in today's modern time, we use our technology to communicate and to deliver messages and receive messages from others. So that's why you always hear about people saying that your computer might go on the fritz, or websites are going down, or servers are going down, because Mercury retrograde is affecting technology. Mercury retrograde is affecting the tools we use to communicate, the tools we use to communicate with the world, and the tools we use to communicate with others. And yes, that includes technology in our modern day. So that's what Mercury does. Retrograde is a time for introspection, a time to reflect on those areas of our life that might be affected by communication, that might be affected by commerce. All of those things that Mercury as a god represents, those are times for us to reflect on those things within our life. So once I learned that it's a time of reflection and not just a time of fucking with me, I started looking at Mercury retrograde as beneficial. Every time Mercury retrograde comes around, I try to. Mercury has been slapping me around quite a bit this time, more so than other ones. But I try to remember this is a period for me to slow down. When my computer goes out, it's not a period to panic in the chaos. It's a period to say, okay, what else is going on in my world that might need my attention that I might not otherwise notice because I'm always so glued to my computer or I'm always so glued to my phone. So it gives you a time to slow down and look at and really review, in some cases, the items or the technology we use to communicate, or in other cases, our communication in general. Does your speech seem to be off kilter? Are you at a loss for words? Are you having trouble conveying the thoughts in your mind in a way that makes sense to others? I know I am, for sure. Because I get in front of y'all and talking, y'all are like, no, Valorie, you always sound that confused. I know, but in my brain, it's a lot more confused. It's a lot more of a struggle to make sure that my words come out. But what does that do? It makes me slow down and it makes me really think about what I am trying to say and pause and try to be more effective. And that is such a benefit. So that's some of the benefits of Mercury retrograde. And that is what Mercury retrograde is. I want to move on and talk about some of the other astrological things, and then we can come back for question and answers. If anybody has questions about these events, be sure to jot them down and we'll definitely come back. So that's Mercury retrograde. That's how we can benefit by slowing down and taking a closer look at our communication. We also had the full moon in Libra. Full moons and new moons, y'all know moons are my jam. So I have a lot of information about full moons and new moons. Full moons are the culmination of a cycle. When the moon is full, it's at its brightest point. And what that means for us is that's when we can look to see what has manifested during this past cycle for us. Immediately after that full moon at its brightest, it immediately begins to start to wane, start to go down. And as it starts to go down in light, going back to that phase of the new moon, which is all dark, during that entire period where it is shedding its light, that is time for us to shed and let go of what we no longer need. So whereas the full moon is considered the culmination, within the days following the full moon, that begins the period of letting go. So full moon to me always triggers a period of what am I going to let go of? So we had the full moon on March 25th in Libra, which was also a lunar eclipse. And those lunar eclipses have been coined chaotic energy, and usually in a negative connotation. I'm hoping to change that a little bit and help this group see that chaos doesn't have to be negative. So lunar eclipse, we already know we're letting go of stuff. Libra is the energy of balancing things. So we're letting go of things. I see it, full moon in Libra, as a literal balance scale. What do I need to take off of this heavier side of this balance scale to bring balance back to my life so things are equal again? That's full moon in Libra energy. I want to bring things back into balance. Libra energy, bring back things into balance. Full moon energy, what do I need to let go of in order to do that? Lunar eclipse means at some point up in the sky, the moon was completely covered over by Earth's shadow. The moon went dark, completely covered over by Earth's shadow, which means that the moon is known to hold our secrets, our subconscious, all of those things that lie beneath the surface. We give that all over to the moon. Now, when the Earth comes in front of the moon and the moon is no longer illuminated, guess who gets all that energy? It's brought to the surface for us. That's how I see it. I see that the moon's energy is now releasing all of that, bringing it to the surface for us. It has no light, it's not illuminated. And so it's bringing it to the surface for us to look at, to deal with what was in my subconscious that might be time to let go of. What secrets or hidden things that I might be able to let go of during this period. So a lot of stuff might have been coming up for us with the retrograde, asking us to look into the past, look at our communication. With this full moon in Libra, asking us to look at what we need to let go of. Yeah, but we're not just like, oh, I think I'll look at it today. No, the world, the astrological is bringing it to the surface for us, whether we are ready to look at it or not. So if you weren't ready to look at it, it might be feeling like a lot of very unsettled energy. Why the hell am I thinking about my ex from 2018? Why am I thinking about that business that ended back in 2002? Like, why are all of these thoughts coming up, and not just coming up, but causing this emotional charge within me? Why am I feeling guilt or shame or sadness or grief about things that happened decades ago that I haven't even thought of for like 5, 6, 7 years? It's because of these astrological events are bringing these things to the surface. And a lot of times it's things that we have not dealt with that spirit is asking us to deal with now. A lot of times those retrogrades and those full moons bring those, and eclipses, I'm sorry, bring those things to the surface. That spirit is saying, I think you're in a space now. I think you have enough tools. I think you're strong enough. I think you're far enough along on your path that you can now look at these things with a lot more grace and compassion. And you can now kind of get rid of them, let go of them. You no longer need to hold on to them. And a lot of those times, it's not things that we are consciously holding on to, it's things that we have buried because we didn't have the tools to deal with them. I don't know what to do with this grief. Gonna put it away on the shelf. It's gonna come back. Hopefully, it comes back when it's at a time when you can deal with it. But it's all of those things that we have buried in our subconscious, that we have put away, that we have pushed down, that are coming to the surface because now we have the tools that we have the tools available to be able to deal with them in a constructive way to help us move along on our path with less weight, with less heaviness. So we're letting go of these things. They're coming up so we can let go of them. So full moon in Libra, lunar eclipse, bringing things to the surface, bringing things out of our subconscious, out of those hidden secret things so that we can deal with them, but also so we can let go of them to bring back the balance. Libra. That was March 25th. We that was during March 25th, right before the retrograde, but still in the retro shade. So we still started to feel the energy of Mercury retro shade. And then we hit that lunar eclipse. And then we hit the actual Mercury retrograde in Aries on April 1st. I do want to mention a little bit about the Mercury retrograde in Aries again, because the full moon happened first, which brought everything to the surface. And then we have the Mercury retrograde, which says, look at how you're communicating these things. During the Mercury retrograde, it was in Aries. If you want to look at, these are general overall, and this is definitely going to give you a good idea of where you want to focus on, what was in my subconscious. But if you want to really get down to the nuts and bolts of it, look at your natal chart and see where these events took place in your natal chart. Where is Libra in your natal chart? And when you figure out what house Libra is in, you will know what area of your life the lunar eclipse was activating for you personally. For Mercury retrograde in Aries, look at your natal chart and see where Aries is in your chart. What house is Aries in your chart? And you will know specifically for you what was Mercury retrograde asking you to look at in your life. For me, I can tell you Mercury retrograde, because I looked this up earlier, is in my 8th house. And the 8th house is that house of, it's ruled by Scorpio. It's about hidden things. It's about things that lie beneath the surface. And I'm like, oh, great. Not only do we have a lunar eclipse, 2 eclipses already pulling that stuff up, but it's happening for me in my house of the hidden subconscious and things like that. So once I looked at that, I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So you might want to look and see which house these astrological events are happening in, so they can give you a better clue of what does the divine want you to focus on, because y'all chose your houses. You chose when you were going to be born from non-physical. You chose where your gifts were going to lie. You chose where your challenges were going to lie. And these astrological events happen in specific houses for you individually, because this is spirit saying, hey, this is what I'd like you to work on during this period. So Mercury retrograde happened on April 1st in Aries. And then we moved on April 8th to the big astrological event the whole world was talking about, the solar eclipse. And that was the new moon, also in Aries. And new moons are about, it's a fresh blank slate. It's a dark moon. I think of it as a dark chalkboard that gives us the chance to write on that new moon our intentions for this upcoming cycle. So those new moons are about setting intentions. They're about calling in. Whereas a full moon is letting go, a new moon is calling in. So we have a new moon in Aries with the solar eclipse during Mercury retrograde, asking you, what do you want to call in? What do you want to create? By this point, most of us were like, fuck if I know, you gave me a whole lot to deal with. And now you're asking me to also tell you what I want to call in. So there was a lot going on. But Aries energy, Aries is the beginning of a astrological cycle. So Aries is the first sign in the zodiac. Aries is the beginning of the old year for those who followed astrological zodiac. Way back when we had actual calendars, we switched over to the new calendar that started in January. Way back when, Aries was the start. So we have this fire energy. Aries is a fire sign, cardinal sign, starting everything off during a new moon, which is also about starting things off, during a solar eclipse. If y'all didn't feel the change being brought upon us, I don't know what to tell you. So not only was there a change, but there was an immense, and still is, an immense, beyond our wildest imagination, opportunity, portals opening everywhere, portals into infinite possibilities, asking us, you are standing at the doorway of infinite possibilities. The entire universe is your oyster. What do you want to call in? That's the power of this past solar eclipse on April 8th. If you're like, oh man, I missed it, I didn't call in anything, don't worry, you can still do it. You can still do it. It was soon enough that we are still in the shade area of that eclipse and we can still work with these eclipse energies. So that was new moon in Aries, calling in energy, but calling it in from such a bigger vantage point, from such a bigger portal, from such a bigger doorway that we are standing in, looking out at infinite possibilities. Also see where that falls in your chart. That might give you clues as to which area of your life you would most benefit from calling in something new. And then today, that moves us to today. That was the eclipse on the 8th. That moves us to today where Mercury retrograde ends. Officially, we station direct and start moving back in the right direction. Somebody got real happy about that, Jacqueline. We'll still stay in the retro shade until May 13th. But with that retrograde ending today, we're still in the period of, it's kind of like we had a chance to look at everything. And now that we're stationed direct, but we're still in that shade period, this is our chance to kind of line things up and get things back in order again before we fully move out of the retro shade on May 13th. So it's still a great, great period of getting things in order and setting things back up the way we really want them to be. I want to talk a little bit about the gifts. No, first I want to ask if you have any questions about the actual astrological events that are happening, and then I'll dig more into the events, the gifts that these two events are giving us. Any questions about astrologically what's going on, or anything I may have said about houses or signs?
Tell me one more time, Val, what does the Libra sign look like?
It's the scales. It looks like scales. Oh, if you're looking at your natal chart, I'm giving you the zodiac glyph. Libra, I think it does still. Libra, it looks like the little half hump over, and then it's got the line underneath. It's got a little short line, a big hump.
Yep. Okay. And you said okay, so mine's in the seventh house, it looks like. That's weird. Yeah. So I'd have to see what the seventh house is. Who you are outside the world. Forget it. That's all. I was just trying to figure out. You had said it was interesting because it fell in your 8th house for some reason, I guess. Is that communication?
The solar eclipse. So I was talking about the solar eclipse. Solar eclipse happened in Aries. So most of what I'm going to talk about today, as far as the gifts, are going to be what gifts can we get from the solar eclipse, that event. So if you want to know specifically what gifts you can get from the chaos of the solar eclipse, look to see what house Aries falls in for you, because
I know what he looks like. He's also in the 7th.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any other questions? Good. Oh, Kitty put it over in chat. I love that. Man, you are right. She's just fast with it. Okay. So let me go back. I want to go back to, let me think, where am I getting here? The first thing I want to talk about is I guess I do want to jump right in and talking about the solar eclipse and the gifts of that. So the solar eclipse was a new moon. A new moon in and of itself, a new moon, it's the dark moon. It's the one where we can't literally see the moon. We just see the shadow cast on the moon. So it's all dark. So not only was that going on, all solar eclipses take place in the new moon, but also it was a solar eclipse such that the entire world, well, some of the world was cast into total darkness. So, darkness, we often look at darkness as negative. Oh, it's dark. I can't see anything. I'm confused. Even I can't see the path in front of me. I can't see where I came from. It's just dark. I think I'll just sit here and cry for a while until the light comes out again. And maybe some of us felt that way. But I want you to think of darkness in this way. Imagine you want to plant a beautiful garden, the most beautiful garden you've ever thought of. Maybe close your eyes and envision your favorite flower, your favorite garden scene. There's grass, there's vegetation, there's these beautiful flowers, but you aren't there yet. Right now, you're standing in front of a barren field. There's just dirt in front of you. There's no grass, there's no flowers, there's no nothing. But in your hand, you have a bag of seeds. What are you going to do with those seeds in order to have the beautiful garden in front of you? Well, you're going to plant them, right? You're going to dig some holes. You're going to put some of those seeds in the ground and you're going to plant them and you're going to cover them over with earth. Now, if you were a seed, where would you be right now? You would be in total darkness. You would be in complete darkness. But what would be within you? Full potential to the ultimate goal of being a flower or being a blade of grass or being a bush or being another form of vegetation. All of that potential within this itty bitty seed that is currently in complete darkness. There's no sun, there's no nothing. Does that seed give up and say, well, I'm in darkness. I guess this is the end of everything. I'm not going to go anywhere from here. No, we know that nature does not do that. So even in complete darkness, that seed knows now is my time. Now is my time to go up. Now is my time to spread out. Now is my time to burst forth from this seed into all that I was meant to be and to reach up. And when it reaches up after a period of time, what happens? We see the physical manifestation of that seed breaking the surface of the ground. But before that happens, do we see anything? Nope. We see barren earth. We see dark soil. We see nothing. But that seed cannot grow to its fullest potential, cannot even begin its growth unless it is first cast into complete darkness beneath the surface. And so for a lot of us, that is where we were thrown, cast, placed, planted in that darkness. But that's not a period for us to feel fearful or to feel lost or to feel forlorn. That's a way for us, if we can see it through the eyes of nature, through the eyes of Gaia, through the eyes of Mama Earth, through the eyes of the Creator, through the eyes of the universe, that darkness is the greatest opportunity for full potential that we might have. It's that opportunity where it's just us as a seed knowing what is within us, knowing what we want to be. I want to be that rose. I want to be that lavender bush. I know what I possess. And now I'm going to burst forth and reach for higher heights until the world can see me. And so that darkness is such a gift. It's warm, it's cozy, it's where we are just with ourselves and we know every bit of our full potential. We know it. We just know it. Nobody has to dig us up and say, remember your lavender seed. Okay, bye. Nobody tells us. We just know. We know what we hold within us. So if you can think of the periods of darkness in your life as periods of potential, as periods of, it's just me here in the darkness, but it's me with all of my potential. And my only goal here in the darkness is to find ways to branch out, find ways to open up, find ways to reach higher so that I can show my potential to the world. So that's one of the ways I want you to start looking at this darkness or this period of feeling like I don't know, I can't see. It's okay. All the seeds were there at one point in their life. All of creation was there in the vastness of nothingness before it decided to explode into something, because it knew its potential. And because it knew its potential so fully, it was able to grow into that. So periods of darkness give us the opportunity of growth, give us the opportunity to look within and ask ourselves what truly lies within, what is seated within me, what is my potential. And it also gives us those opportunities to decide, now is the time I'm going to grow. Now is the time I'm going to expand. Now is the time I'm going to reach higher. Now is the time that I am going to decide to break the surface that I have never broken before and allow me to be seen by the world, allow me to be a physical manifestations that others can see, that others can follow, that others can enjoy and experience. So that's one way to look at the gift that this dark period has given us, the gift that this feeling of I'm in darkness and I can't see what my next step is. You don't need to see it. We're a seed. We need to feel for it. We need to send out our little tendrils, feel for it, search for it. I know I'm supposed to be going up, so I'm just going to keep doing that. And at some point, I'm going to break the surface. And at some point, I'm going to feel the light of the sun on me. I don't know which way. I don't have to know. I'm going to feel for it. I'm going to feel for it. So think of yourself of that seed as that seed in the darkness when you think of these periods of new moon or these periods of solar eclipse in the darkness. Another thing, another analogy I want to give you to think of a way of thinking of this chaos. So this is chaos in general. Yes, chaos caused by the astrological events, but chaos in general. Because sometimes, I don't know about y'all, but sometimes chaos be showing up and it ain't shit going on up in the sky. It's just personal chaos. Chaos I've created for myself, chaos that is rampant because I'm overthinking and my thoughts have been going in the wrong direction. Chaos shows up for all of us. So in those moments of chaos, how do we find the gift in that when it's not like, oh, I can look at the sky and then I can look at my chart and then I can figure out what to do, when it's just complete chaos because I've probably created it or you've individually created it. What do we do in those periods? I've got something to show you on the screen here. One moment. Let me get it shown up. This is gonna ask you all to comment. Hold on. I need y'all to tell me, what is this image that I'm about to show you? Do y'all recognize that image? Unmute, put it over in chat. What is this image?
Isn't that a Rubik's Cube?
Rubik's Cube. Oh, yes. I didn't make the test too hard. Okay, it is a Rubik's Cube. Everyone's played with one of these before, right? Right? What's the goal? What's the goal of this Rubik's Cube? How do we play with this tool? You can put it over in chat. You can raise your hand. You can comment. It's a small group. What's the goal of this? Let's see. Yep, Nicole.
To balance all sides.
To get all the sides the same color.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, all the card sides are not the same color. And the way we work with the Rubik's Cube is we flip it and we change it and we shift it and we twist it until we get all of the sides the same color, until we get something that looks like one moment. This. All pretty, all organized. This is what I call alignment. But in order to get from chaos to alignment, there's a lot of twists and turns and shaking and moving around that has to happen in order for us to get here. So I like to think of the chaos in our life as that period of the Rubik's Cube when nothing is matched up, nothing is in order. And a lot of us live in that state. We live in that state of misalignment, not on purpose. Maybe we're just unaware, but we get so comfortable with having the blues and the reds and all of the colors just all over the place and nothing is aligned. We get so comfortable with misalignment that when the universe comes along and picks up our Rubik's Cube of a life and starts twisting it, when we're moved towards alignment, we resist it. Why are you turning me around, universe? Why are you flipping me upside down? Why are you twisting that part? No, put it back. I know the yellow and the red are not supposed to be touching like that, but put it back because that was comfortable. That's what I'm used to. I'm used to seeing this image of my life, and this is where I'm comfortable. So a lot of times we get so comfortable in misalignment that when the universe says, hey, Valorie, for the last 5 years, you have been asking me to align your life. Today's the day. We're going to do it during this solar eclipse. And it picks me up and it starts twisting and turning. And I say, wait, what's happening? Why? What's going on? That's that feeling of being realigned by the universe. And that's what's going on for a lot of us, regardless of the astrological events. But because collectively, as light workers, we are asking, let me be of greater service. Let me find my purpose so that I can help other people find their purpose. Let me be a light. Let me be a light worker. Let me help others heal. All of these things that we are asking for, we cannot do from a state of misalignment. And maybe we have been trying to do them from a state of misalignment because misalignment is what we know. It's where we feel comfortable. And we just keep asking, keep asking, keep asking, keep asking. And Spirit says, I hear you. Are you ready? And at some point we say, yeah, I think I'm ready. And Spirit says, all right, and picks us up and starts twisting us to put us into alignment. And that's when we start screaming bloody murder and saying, no, Spirit, put us back down. No, this is not what I meant. No, why are you doing that? I didn't ask you to touch my money. I asked you to bring me a man. Why are we over here flipping this side of the Rubik's Cube when we know how Rubik's Cubes work, right? You can't just deal with one side. You have to turn the whole thing. So when we are feeling as if everything in our life is going chaotic, Spirit, I just asked for you to put more money in my bank account. I don't know why we're talking about the issues I have with my mother. I don't know why you're fucking with my car. I don't know why, it's because Spirit is saying, I've got to align everything. What you are asking for is bigger than what you even are aware of. I am moving your entire life into alignment. And this is what you've asked for on a bigger calling in a bigger way. So when we can look at it that way, when we can look at the chaos in our life as not Spirit abandoning us, not the universe fucking with us, not things so out of control that we have no say in the matter. But if we can just relax and be like, oh, the universe must be at it again. The universe must be trying to line up all my colors, must be trying to get me into alignment. What's your job when the universe is doing that? Faith, trust, belief, relax, go with the twists and turns, wait for things to align in a way that makes sense for you again. If you fight it, Spirit is going to say, oh, you're not ready. And they're going to put the Rubik's Cube back down. But where do they put it back down? They've already flipped a couple of things. Now they're putting it back down and nothing is aligned yet, but everything is still out of place because the sides that you are used to looking at have already been twisted a couple of times. And now everything's still out of place. And you called the stops on it. So Spirit said, of course, whatever you want. And now not only is it misaligned, but it's also very uncomfortable because it's not the chaos that you're used to. It's all new chaos. And you called the stops on it. So that's why it's so important to, when we hit these moments of chaos, don't call quits, don't step out, don't say this is too hard, I give up. Realize, oh, this is part of what I asked for. And I need to let Spirit continue to move these things together. So at least maybe I can get all yellow side. Maybe it's still working on the green and the blue, but maybe I can get all yellow side. Maybe this one area will start to make sense in my life. But if you call quits, you get set back down and you're still in chaos, but it's a new kind of chaos. Now you got to figure out how to navigate the new chaos. So my suggestion is we don't call it quits. We lean into the chaos. We lean into the reconfiguration of life as we know it. And we get curious about which side is Spirit working on? Which color is Spirit focusing on? Maybe it's more than one color. Maybe it's more than one aspect or more than one area or more than one gift that we've been asking about. It's going to be personal to each one of us. But when we can lean into that chaos, when we can lean into that reorganization, that realignment, oh my God, there are so many gifts there and so many messages from Spirit saying, oh, I'm glad you're curious. I was just going to do this in silence, but I'm glad you're curious. Yeah, I'm going to tell you why I moved it this way. Because when I move it this way, see how these colors all line up? And you're like, oh, okay, now that makes sense. And then I'm going to move it this way and I'm going to tell you. So when we lean in and we get curious, that's the conversation we can have with Spirit about the chaos. Spirit is more than willing to let us know, this is why I'm changing this. This is what you've asked for. This is what's going on. Yes, this feels uncomfortable, but wait until it clicks into place and see what is lined up in this new position. You might need to rest and then it's going to shift it again. You might need to rest, or you might be like, nope, give it to me all at once. And there's a lot of shifts going on in your life. I know some of y'all are experiencing that right now because I've talked to you. But when we could lean in instead of no, when we lean in, that gives Spirit the opportunity to not only give us more messages about what change is coming our way, but to also help us understand what is going on and help us not resist it so that it can continue on its path until it gets to that place of deeper and more richer alignment. So that's what I have to say about that. Now I'm ready to take any questions you all might have. And if not, we will move into the channeled messages. No questions. All right. Okay, so I'm going to call in my friends, the Syrian Council. I'm looking at the group. Everybody knows what the Syrian Council is. I don't have to explain it. They are my interstellar friends that I am very chummy with, and I have some questions for them about what this group needs to know about chaos and change. So I'm going to ask my questions to them first, and then we'll see if any of you have questions. And you can ask personal questions if you have something going on personally that is changing or shifting in your life that you would like more guidance on. More than welcome to answer those questions. And then we will see where we are on time, and we might wrap up with just a general question and answer, or we'll just see where we are. So the first question, let me get centered and grounded first. We not only have my Syrian friends, but I also see a whole audience of non-physical beings. Angels, definitely. But the Syrian Council are the ones holding the mic, so to speak. So what I am asking them is what gifts can chaos bring to us? What gifts can chaos bring to us? What gifts do you want chaos to bring to you? We would like to take this time in your personal history and also Earth's history. You all are moving so rapidly. You all are moving into a period where hopefully you are beginning to recognize your own personal power, not your power over the things around you in your life, not your power to control, not your power to make sense of, not your power to schedule, to plan, but the power that comes from within you, the power of creation, the power that this channel just spoke about as a seed, the infinite potential that lies within each one of you. And so when you asked what questions can this chaos bring you, we would like to shift your attention into what do you want it to bring to you? You are now the one at the helm. You are the one steering the boat, the car, the vehicle. You are the one choosing which path to walk. Your paths are no longer being handed to you, are no longer being laid out before you and dictated to you. That is the old way. Your paths are being built by you individually. You are in charge. You now have the power to choose at the door of infinite possibility, the power to call in the experiences, the possibilities, the probabilities, the things you want to occur, the things you want to create. You do not need permission. You do not need astrological alignment. You do not need powers outside of yourself to create, to choose, to decide what gifts you get to receive. We use the analogy of a kid in a candy store with an infinite credit limit. The kid in the candy store does not ask, which candy will you give me today? The kid in the candy store with an infinite expense available walks through the candy store and chooses what they want, because there is nothing within that store that they cannot afford. There is nothing within that store that they cannot not have. There are no parents to tell them they cannot eat that or that is too much. They are just in bliss, choosing the richest, sweetest, most delicious things that store has to offer them, knowing they can have it all. This is you in this moment. When you understand your full potential, you understand that there is no one telling you no. There is no one putting a cap on how many chocolates you can have. There is no fear of cavities. There is nothing holding you back from taking all of the gifts that this moment in time has to offer you. So we put the question back to you. What gifts do you want? When you decide what gifts you want, what things you want to put in your cart, in your basket, what sweets and treats and delights you want to carry with you throughout the next days, months, years, lifetimes. When you decide, we are more than happy to tell you exactly how to get them, which store to go to, which bin to look in. But we want you to stop asking us what we are giving you, for we are giving you nothing other than the support necessary for you to use your own power to get everything that you have ever wanted. Now is your time. Infinite opportunities await. And many of you are still not fully understanding what we mean when we say infinite opportunities. Even in your brain, you still limit that. Now is the time to allow yourself to expand. If nothing else, we would like you to at least begin peering into, examining, reviewing, revising your definition of infinite, because it is not yet big enough. And I feel them stepping away as they finish that question. So what other questions do we have? For me, for them, have you all thought about the gifts that chaos has to you? Do you have ideas of what you might have experienced over this past month? Something that you would like to look a little deeper into, explore a little further? Or are you just ready to go off and dig into chaos all on your own? Jacqueline.
I really feel that the challenging times that I've been having lately have been there as maybe catalysts for my further growth. I do know when you were talking with your interstellars or your Syrian friends, and I had my eyes closed, I felt their energy really close, like really close to me, which was really exciting. I'm just wondering if there's anything else other than me making some decision, like setting the goals that we set yesterday and in your last session that we had yesterday, Valorie. We were setting intentions and goals for the future, for the next month, and I set a bunch of personal and individual goals for myself, and I felt good about them. I'm just wondering if they could just give me some more information about why I was dealing with what I was dealing with. Like if they, yeah, I'll just leave it like that.
I sense more of an angelic presence. You were dealing with what you were dealing with because it was a clearing away. And this is not specific to you, this is for the entire group. Whatever you are dealing with in your current life is neither negative nor positive. You hear this, you cognitively accept it as a truth, but you emotionally and energetically reject it. Emotionally, you say, I would never put myself in this state. energetically you say, this energy does not feel good. What is happening to you is happening so that you can clear away those things that you have decided you don't want to carry with you. However, many times you do not make this decision from a conscious level. You make it from an energetic, an emotional, a subconscious level. So when it comes up, it seems foreign. It seems uncalled for. It seems chaotic. It definitely seems as if this is not something I would have asked for. Because you are not asking for it from a conscious state. It is your subconscious, your energy, your emotions that are asking for this clearing, that are asking for this weight to be lifted. And so sometimes when your emotional closet gets too full, things get pushed out, not because we are pushing them out, but because you are saying, I am too full, I am too burdened, this is too much, I need to let go. And you think you know what you need to let go of. But oftentimes it surprises you what you actually need to let go of. So everything that you have gone through is positive from our perspective, is necessary to rattle the cage, to loosen the debris, to remove those things that are hampering your growth. They're showing me the image of a seed under the ground, like we talked about, but over the top of the ground is like a black tarp. And I know that some gardening, they actually cover the ground with like these black tarps where it's supposed to help. But this black tarp is so thick, it's not meant for vegetation. And so it's covering over that ground. And as that seed is trying to grow, it's hitting that tarp. So the understanding I'm getting is that there's a period of darkness, there's a period of growth, there's a period of moving up. And then sometimes we have put in our own way that black tarp that keeps us from actually reaching our true potential, that keeps us from actually getting out into the light, into the full manifestation, the physical manifestation that we've been asking for. And so these things that come up, it's almost like I would not have consciously known what created that tarp or how to even remove it. Or from my position in the darkness, it's all dark. I can't even differentiate that there's a tarp there. I just know I just hit this part in my life where I just feel like I can't move past it, but it's all dark. So how do I know the difference between the dark earth that's helping me grow and the dark tarp that's stopping me from growth? It's all just darkness. And so from that perspective, we're still on an energetic, on a subconscious level, trying to grow, not understanding what's stopping us. But our soul, our energy is asking for this growth. And so spirit, the gardener up above, seeing everything, says, oh, well, you put a tarp over your goals, over your dreams, over your wishes. That's what I'm seeing when I look down. Yes, some of that you put because of childhood trauma. Some of that you put there last week because you started worrying about your bank account. Some of that was a couple of lifetimes ago. Doesn't matter. But if you are really serious about what you're asking for, sure. And spirit starts to pull away that tarp. We don't know what was in the tarp until it starts to get pulled away. And then we're like, oh, childhood trauma. Oh, those thoughts from last week. Oh, that stuff from 3 lifetimes ago that I wasn't even aware of is now being pulled away. But as it's being pulled away, now I'm becoming aware of it. Now I feel really gross. Now I feel really aware of all of the, couldn't it just have stayed in the darkness? I don't need all of this stuff. But that's kind of what's going on. It's like on some level, we're asking. Sometimes we're not even aware of asking because it's a soul asking. It's what our soul came here to do. And so when that gets moved away, it does feel unsettling, but spirit is trying to let us know, but this is what you asked for. So all of these things that are coming up are in answer to what we've been asking for. Nothing this is what they're telling me right now in this minute. This is what Spirit is saying. Nothing in your life happens without you asking for it first. Sometimes you are aware of what you're asking for and you're very specific. And sometimes you are unaware because it's asking from an energetic level or asking from a different perspective. But nothing in your life happens without an ask and an answer. So when you experience chaos, unrest, unsettling events in your life, those are still answers. If you would like to know more about what is happening, go back and ask yourself, what questions were you asking? What were you asking for? And sometimes that was Spirit ending. This is Valorie stepping in. Sometimes we need help to figure out what was I asking for that caused this thing in my life. So whether it's a therapist, whether it's a spiritual practitioner, whether it's reading a self-help book, listening to audio books, sometimes we need help in digging into what was I asking for that caused this calamitous, again, us assigning negative to that caused this thing to happen in my life. But understand that when we can stay in alignment with our purpose, that's when we know that even when these things happen that feel chaotic, they are for our benefit. I have experienced chaos that is for my benefit, and I have also experienced chaos that is not for my benefit. How do we know the difference? Where am I? How am I aligned? Am I aligned in the moment with my purpose? Even though these things seem chaotic, I can look at them and say, I'm aligned, so this must be for my higher purpose. If my life is a shit show, and maybe I do need a therapist, and maybe I do need a spiritual practitioner, and maybe I do need all of these things because I am not aligned and I can sense it in every part of my being that I'm not aligned, then when chaos comes up, chaos is still an answer to my asking, but my asking is chaotic. And so we need to look into that asking to figure out, how am I creating my life? Where are the answers coming in at? So in your case, Jacqueline, your guides, the angels, some of it was angels and some of it I think was your guides. It did not feel like interstellars. When they answered your question, it was all beneficial. It was in answering to whatever you were asking for from your subconscious, from your energy, from your emotions. These answers were coming in a beneficial way because you were aligned with your asking. Your asking was in alignment with your higher purpose. Let me put it that way. Your asking was in alignment with your higher purpose. Therefore, all of this chaos that came in, all of this unrest was in alignment with moving you towards that, was in pulling off the tarp so that you could actually reach for and see the light. Does that help? That was a lot of fucking analogies, so I hope that helped.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Lori.
So I had this, I'll call it a dream. I don't think it was, but this experience when I was asleep. And at the end of it, it doesn't matter the details. The ending was, it seemed to me that I was my interstellar self in this situation. And I was being told it's time to start using your magic. And I don't understand what that means. And I don't quite understand how I'm able to do that here as an interstellar self, sure, but not as me, Laurie, in the 3D. So do they have any guidance on that?
Yeah, for sure. Because they jumped in already. When you said, I'm not sure what that means, they said, you know what your magic is. And then they said, it's the magic you've always imagined and played with in your dreaming, in your playtime as a child. It's that magic. And the how do I, like when you said I could understand it in my interstellar, like I can see myself doing magic there, but how do I pull it into the 3D? That's where I feel like I can't answer this because I'm not understanding what energies they're trying to get through. So let me tap into them. Let me see if there's anything else they want to say. Hang on. Okay, let me tap in. You all have magic. They're smiling at the word magic. You all have innate abilities. You all have access to the infinite. And some of you often access and pull in those abilities in ways that are stronger than have been seen before, or different than has been exhibited or experienced before. And when others look upon it, they call it magic. And when you look upon it, you call it magic. Not because it is actually magic, but because it seems different than what you are used to. How do you use your magic? Get used to being different. Stop trying to fit magic into a container. Don't define things as magic and non-magical, or it is all magical. Think more about the magic that you know you wield and use in what you call dream time, which you know is more than just dream time, which means you know you are using magic. And yet your brain says, but I want it to show up this way on this day in my 3D world. And we say, what makes you think it isn't? If you could see from our vantage point all the multitude of miraculous things you have created, you have experienced in your life, you would not ask, where's the magic? You would see it all around you. When you can start seeing it all around you, you will be a more competent wielder, channeler, focuser of this thing you call magic. It is simply energy. You have the ability to make that energy manifest in ways never before seen to man. But you have to step away from the ideas you have about how magic is actually going to show up for you. Think in more expansive terms. Think bigger. Allow your perception of 3D, 4D, 5D, 15D, 70D, all of these dimensions, allow your definitions to not be so harsh, to not be so restrictive, to be softer around the edges, to blend into one another, to let all dimensions be present in the present moment because they are. And when you can allow the dimensions to be present in the present moment, and then just allow your magic to be present in the present moment, then it will not matter whether you are 3D or not. Your magic will be present in the present moment, and you will know what to do with it. So it is your own definition of being able to only use magic in dream time, in 5D. Your own definition of looking in the world around you and saying, this is not magic, that is not magic, that is not what I was talking about. It is your own definitions that are preventing you from seeing and using magic. We know you speak of magic in Harry Potter terms and not magic in flowers growing. Both are possible when you can blur the lines blend the lines between the very rigid containers you have put your dimension and your time and your space into. This is what you all collectively have been asking for and what you are all moving to, a blending, a merging, an understanding of the ability to access all that is from any point within all that is. You are doing so well. You will get there. Blur the lines, blend the realities, release the rigidity of your definition of life, of time, of dimensions, and you will see that what you are doing in your dream time, in your fantasy, in your thoughts, in your imagination, is not confined to your dream time, your thoughts, your imagination, but it's just as real as everything else.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you.
You
I
know,
get that.
I want magic too.
You have magic. They just said that.
I know they be saying that, but I'm like, but I still can't walk through the wall. Oh, they just say yes, you can if you stop. You stop. Yeah.
As
What
long
are
as
you
we
gonna say,
stop,
Lori?
as long as we stop believing that it's solid, then we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
really
get it.
play with that. I really want to play with that. Thank you for that question, Lori.
Yeah. Thank you for the answer.
Yeah. Are you getting anything else?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you get anything else from them?
The only thing I was getting, it was very clear to me, and it's what I've been working on through all of this chaos, is staying in the now, staying present in the now, and really paying attention to the stories that I tell myself and how do I put this? The stories that I tell myself that are based on old beliefs and messages from other people. And once I catch them, I can release them. Well, I put my awareness to them and they just float away and then come back into this moment right now, because that's all we have. And when I do that, then I understood what they were saying, because that is magical. And I do slip in and out of dimensions all the time when I'm staying present in that moment.
Yeah.
So I get what they're saying.
Yeah.
And you're right. I do have kind of this witchy Harry Potter kind of thought about magic. And it's like, yeah, that's not really what it is.
So do I. So do I.
I want it to be, but that's not it.
Yeah.
So, okay.
The only thing else I heard as you were talking about the now is I heard them say your now is not, it's kind of a repeat of what they already said. They said your now is not bound by dimensions or time.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think a lot of time, me personally, when I think of now in terms of 7:21 p.m. Central Time on Thursday, April 25th. And they're like, well, that's your 3D now. There's a lot more now than what's available is what I'm getting from them.
Right. I thinking I'm working on now being in this moment, whenever that is, and it's about presence and awareness.
Yeah.
And it's hard to hold that because mind and ego don't like that. But it's like, so yeah, it's always coming back to that alignment that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where the magic is.
That's where
I get it.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Everybody feeling good? All right. I believe that's all I had as far as presentation on these chaos energies and how we can actually feel into them, look into them, not be afraid of them, especially with the retrogrades and the eclipse. And the only thing I want to leave you all with is spending some time in meditation. And if you're not a meditator, spending some time just sitting, preferably out in nature, because nature is a grand absorber of all of these energies. So preferably out in nature and just contemplating, seeing yourself standing at a massive doorway, peering into a void of infinite possibilities and asking yourself, what do I want? Just spend some time with that. Maybe journal about it, maybe not, but spend some time with that thought. Oh, I love that. Somebody's already doing 10 minutes a day meditating. I like it. I like it. So spend some time with that. I am certain, because Spirit is telling me in this moment, hopefully if you can get to doing that within the next couple of days, that there are answers waiting for you. That's what I'm getting for this group in particular, that there are answers waiting for you as far as, I don't know, whatever questions you have, there's answers waiting, but you need to get this is what Spirit's saying in this moment. They want you to get to the spot, not where you are right now currently. So this is for all of us, not where you are right now currently. They want to move us to a spot where we are at the doorway of seeing infinite possibilities. And from that spot, we can attract the answers that we're looking for. Even better if we can step through that doorway, but some of us are just, we're good with standing in the doorway and looking into the void. So they want to get us to that spot first. And then when we get there, they're saying that there's answers waiting for each and every one of us. So I'm excited. I'm definitely going to meditate when this event is over. Okay, well, that's all I have. It looks like we are almost at the 1.5 hour mark. So doing pretty good there. I want to one last time open it up and ask if there's any questions or anything I can answer astrologically, energetically. Give it just a moment. All right. Looks good. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you all for being here. This has been great. I've loved your energies. I've loved the opportunity to be able to channel. I got to do more of that. It feels so good when I do it, and then I just get away from it. So I hope you enjoyed the messages that came through and also the information that was shared about the astrological events. I don't think we have another total solar eclipse happening again until 2024. So we get not 2024, I'm sorry, 2040 something. I forget. It's like 20 years off, 18 years off. So we got a little bit of a break, but we will have Mercury retrogrades. We'll also have Venus retrogrades, the often not talked about retrograde. So we've got a lot more opportunities for chaos and change. And of course, as we talked about, we have those moments of self-created chaos. And hopefully when we get into those chaotic moments in our life, we now have a little bit of a different perspective, a different way of looking at it, so that we can be more calm and so that we can find our way through to the other side more swiftly. All right. Thank you all so much. This has been wonderful. Have a great rest of your evening